Bene, iniziamo. Abbiamo un po' di ospiti in presenza, un po' di ospiti sono collegati da remoto e oggi apriamo questo ciclo di seminari che con il collega Gilberto Antonelli abbiamo organizzato per la nostra Accademia delle Scienze dell'Istituto di Bologna. L'idea è di lavorare in maniera trasversale, quindi interdisciplinare, su un tema che ci ha sempre interessato per le rispettive discipline, ossia il tema dei processi di innovazione, ovviamente fra economia e diritto. In realtà non ci saranno degli interventi specifici solo su economia o solo sul diritto, ma si cercherà di guardare ai processi economici e giuridici da una prospettiva ampia. Il primo seminario, che poi sarà introdotto dal professor Antonelli, è quello di oggi. Abbiamo l'occasione di avere a Bologna ospite una personalità molto importante, un alto funzionario della Asian Development Bank, da sempre impegnato sul tema della education e dei processi innovativi nell'ambito educativo. Poi avremo una seconda partecipazione da parte di una serie di colleghi di Bologna. Uno di questi è qui, lo ringrazio, Riccardo Leoncini, che insieme a Mariele Macaluso e Giovanni Guidetti per il 21 marzo 2024 terranno una conferenza su intelligenza artificiale e brevetti, e poi andremo nel mese di ottobre per un intervento invece in cui io sarò in dialogo con Carlo Pandolfi, che ha una vita, diciamo, di lavoro sempre ai vertici dell'istituzione dello European Patent Office, e quindi parleremo con Pandolfi sul fronte giuridico e più sul fronte tecnico della evoluzione della materia dei brevetti. Quanto si brevetta ancora, non si brevetta più, come sono cambiati i brevetti. E quindi questo è diciamo intanto il primo blocco di seminari che abbiamo previsto, e vi ringrazio per essere qui oggi con noi e passo la parola a Gilberto Antonelli per introdurre lo speaker e la relazione di oggi.
Thank you, Marina. I'm so happy to be here today because this is an important opportunity both for the Academy and the University of Bologna of hosting such a interesting scholar with various kinds of experiences. Now I shift to Italian because but just to let you know how much we appreciate your participation. In effetti, Sungsup Ra, che attualmente è Deputy Director General and Deputy Group Chief dell'Asian Development Bank, ha un curriculum particolarmente ricco e articolato di competenze, perché dopo avere conseguito il dottorato in economia presso l'Università di Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, ha insegnato in varie università, compresa la Christian University di Tokyo, la Korea University e anche la stessa University of Illinois. E successivamente ha ricoperto una serie di incarichi in organizzazioni sia private che pubbliche, private come la Samsung, pubbliche come il Korean National Pension Institute. A questo tipo di competenze, ha poi successivamente fatto seguire un lungo periodo di lavoro presso la Asian Development Bank. È stato in 35 anni di professional experience in general e 22 anni presso la Asian Development Bank. È stato nell'Asian Development Bank Chief Director Officer of the Sustainable Development and Climate Change Department. È stato anche poi successivamente Director of the South Asia Human and Social Development Division e attualmente è, come dicevo, Deputy Director General, che vuol dire che ha una diciamo, competenza orizzontale sulle attività di innovazione, collaborazione e operazioni sovrane su tutti i settori del sistema economico, orizzontale. Quindi una grande esperienza che gli ha consentito di mantenere viva una serie di curiosità che continuamente alimenta partecipando ad attività con università di tutto il mondo, compresi gli Stati Uniti. Nel seminario di questa sera ci presenta una, diciamo, analisi che potrebbe essere di base per un intero ciclo a se stesso sul cambiamento radicale verificatosi nelle economie e nelle società del mondiali globali a seguito di un forte processo di frammentazione produttiva e sociale che ha dato luogo, sta dando luogo a cambiamenti in alcuni degli elementi base dei nostri sistemi economici, ma anche dei sistemi formativi e in particolare dei sistemi universitari. Solo 3 punti per segnalare come questo tipo di trasformazione si sta manifestando. Anzitutto sfumano, cambiano i confini tra settori produttivi nell'economia, ma anche tra ambiti disciplinari. Stamattina nell'assemblea della Accademia si è discusso di questo tema. Il presidente e il vicepresidente che mandano i loro saluti, scusandosi di non essere potuti essere presenti, hanno insistito molto sulla necessità che tutte le attività dell'Accademia acquisiscano questo ambito inter o multidisciplinare. Quindi andare sui problemi piuttosto che sulle discipline, che non vuol dire che le discipline non hanno importanza, anzi, ma devono acquisire una capacità di dialogo con le altre discipline in tante direzioni, proprio perché stanno sfumando questi confini, anche se magari stando dentro il mondo accademico non ce ne accorgiamo sempre e comunque. Seconda considerazione, mutano i confini tra il pubblico e il privato. Il privato è molto presente nelle attività di formazione a livello di istruzione terziaria. Questo lo si vede sia globalmente per la presenza di multinazionali molto attive nel settore, soprattutto il settore della higher vocational education, cioè dei linkages che ci sono tra università e industria. È presente anche con forme di, diciamo, sostegno della formazione nell'ambito del privato, che sono le corporate universities. Anche qui a Bologna abbiamo una corporate university, il gruppo ERA. Questo tipo di presenza richiede nuove forme di interazione con le nostre università, i nostri atenei, in grado di rendere i nostri atenei sempre più indipendenti rispetto a questo processo, che altrimenti rischia di essere un processo invasivo. Ultimo punto, Un altro tipo di confini sta cambiando e sono i confini tra i gruppi sociali. In Italia l'ultima indagine dell'Istat in materia, fatta nel 2017, ci racconta di 9 gruppi sociali. Quindi noi abbiamo a che fare con un numero molto elevato di gruppi sociali, molto differenziati tra loro, che corrisponde a questo processo di frammentazione. E questi gruppi sociali hanno fabbisogni, esigenze, modi di vedere, modi di interpretare il rapporto con la formazione, a partire dai giovani e dai loro disagi, che anche le accademie devono sapere cogliere. Per questo dicevo che, diciamo, è un punto di partenza la presentazione di oggi per un intero programma di ricerca, se lo si volesse realizzare. Avendo portato via già troppo tempo, adesso lascio la parola a Sungsup Ra per la presentazione. Solo consentitemi di segnalarvi questo volume a cura di Sungsup Ra ed altri autori su Powering a Learning Society During an Age of Disruption, pubblicato dalla Springer e con un'introduzione di Joseph Stiglitz, che è un po' il punto di, se volete, arrivo della riflessione fatta da Sungsup fino ad oggi. Please, Sungsup.
Thank you, Marina, and also Gilberto for your kind introduction. I hope perhaps I can start with it. Just before starting this presentation, can you hear me well? I can think about my question. You know, I work for developing country for a long time. Developing country meaning poor country. Well, Nepal, Bangladesh, India, many poor countries, right? Some country not necessarily have a low education level. You know, when you think about 90s, 60s, 70s, when Korea was such poor, right? I think the education attainment of the Philippines were far better than that of Korea, right? But why Korea was successful? Why Philippines still like stagnate in terms of economic growth? Recent example about China. Of course, China has a long history, glorious history, but recent several hundred, they have trouble, right? But they have a cultural revolution, right? Many problems they had it. But somehow China steeply go, be able to go, get out from poverty. Why China were able to get out from poverty? Yeah, poverty trap, while many other countries still struggling. When China going through cultural revolution, you know, that destroy whole education system, right? But despite that, China were able to catching up, not only that catching up, be a successful model, one of the exemplary model in terms of economic growth in the world. Why it happened? That's my question. Here, by the way, before going that, I think you asked me what I am doing. My name is Sungsup, and I think the Professor Gilberto already explained very well. I am from Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank is this. We work Asia, develop meaning, develop, this meaning we are development institution like UN agency. But at the same time, we are a bank. We raise money from the capital market. So we are development institution, at the same time we are bank. So that makes very different. So what we do, usually we do policy advice. We provide like grant money operation, provide capacity building, you know, support, policy advice. At the same time, we give the loan money to the developing member country. Our developing member country, we have 68 in Asia, including India, China, all the way to the Pacific country and Afghanistan. So many of the poor countries we operate. By the way, Italy is also our the member country, but Italy is not as a recipient, as a donor. So we have many European also the member, Italy, German, UK, all of them, you know, most of them, they are the member also. our shareholder. Now going here, I just want to ask one question. By the way, throughout this my presentation, I want to focus on three. Why development happen? Some country happen, some country not happen. That's first question. Second question, I want to argue, learning is such important, but learning is very different from education. Often we think education attainment is the same as learning, but I try to say these are different. And then I try to argue that school education is not enough. We have to go beyond school education. We have to establish we have to establish a learning society, and then we need to do lifelong education. That I try to argue today. First, I want to focus on why there are so many cargo. You know, this book is a very famous book by Gerald Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel. And then the first page of this book has a question. The Gerald Diamond met the Papua New Guinea chief, and then we walked the riverside together. And then the chief is a very wise guy, the Papua New Guinea guy, the chief. He asked Gerald, Diamond, Professor Diamond, why is that you guys develop so much cargo like this? Because in Western countries, that time they come to the Papua New Guinea with a lot of cargo, right? And then brought to the Papua New Guinea. But we, Papua New Guinea, have little cargo of our own. This is my question. Some cargo, what is meaning cargo? That means GDP, now, right? And the wealth we are talking. And this Mr. Yali, the chief of the Papua New Guinea, asked this question. Why you guys have so many cargo? We don't have. Often, perhaps we're thinking Papua New Guinea, they don't have good education, they don't do. But it's not necessarily true. The chief of the Papua New Guinea, even several hundred years back, 100 years back, got to be very, very wise person. Chief of any village, they got a very, very wise guy. So he asked that question. Today, I want to ask the same question and try to think about this. Now, maybe Ricardo might like it. These economists have now the answer, right? What is the most important is the capital and labor, right? This factor-driven one. But on top, we say human capital become very important. Why human capital is important? Because in the human capital theory, the endogenous economic theory, look at the human as not just only labor, as a knowledge creator, and knowledge also accumulator. And then human, we are the one. Once you have a knowledge, that you will be the one to develop, come up with a new innovation and technology. That's why it becomes very important. To move the line, this curve upward, we need human capital. That human capital help, and then also the innovation and technology. By the way, yesterday I met Ricardo. He mentioned very important thing I often forgot. Human capital is not necessarily about education. It's related to health. Right? They mentioned that in Africa, because of the HIV, all kind of problem, right? The big loss generation, many people die. So human capital is not only education, also health becomes very important. We need to be healthy enough to really do something. Now, this is the big questions I had. I tried to figure it out now on the human capital angle and education. Often we are thinking where we are in terms of our education or learning system. What kind of system we have developed. I'm looking back now the education system, the evolution of the education system from hunter-gatherer society all the way to now. Long time back, about 300,000 years back. That time, we had informal and then informal learning system. The chief and the father, they teach the kids, so to play and explore. During the agriculture period, right? There's no formal education, but only for privileged people. But also the majority of them, it was like informal, also informal. That was around BC 10,000 years ago. When Industrial Revolution came, about 18th century, truly the mass education came out. And then we start to standardize education. And it's very much though centralized system. Now, that was the start of the modern education system, 18th century. From the industry, our modern education system we are now experiencing, we are using, placed in all over the world. This, in fact, originated from the Industrial Revolution. Now, with the digitalization, AI, all those, we are moving into more open, massively individualized education. They're very different sometimes from the Industrial Revolution. Very, very interesting. If you go looking at this, looking at the open, massive individual, it seems like we're going back old days, but we can do it because of the technology. All those. Another diagram I want to share with you is that when we think about education, often we're thinking additional years of the schooling that will help learning. But here I want to argue it's not necessarily true. I have it all three now segment, low-income country, low middle-income country, upper middle-income country, high-income country. As you see in this diagram, the blue one is a low-income country. There's not necessarily positive relation between the learning and also school, the additional years of school. So here I want to say, is some like in a high-income country, yes, there's a very clear, strong positive relation, but also some positive relation you can observe in the upper middle-income country and low middle-income country, but in the low middle-income country, it's difficult. So here I argue learning not necessarily happening in school. So I work for a country like India, Bangladesh, many countries. Is for example, in India, you go there, grade 2 level. Many students at grade 2 level, they don't know how to add to plus and minus, and also multiplication and division. Many of them, more than I would say, more than 60% of students cannot read it, cannot even learn how do they divide and multiply. I can do 2-digit number of the addition and the minus. They can subtract, they cannot do. So that clearly telling that education not necessarily lead to learning. This one, I want to give some counter example. This is the PISA test against the 600 or also on the PISA test. Now, if you look at here, two countries very interesting, Vietnam and Estonia. Vietnam is not really the high-income country or middle, but Vietnam PISA test, the results, surprisingly, really good. If you compare with the other countries, advanced countries, really good. Estonia is upper middle income, is an advanced country, but it's not really, comparable with Singapore, Korea, and those in terms of income level. But they're also education attainment so good. So we can see that those Estonia and Vietnam, they have perhaps the very well developed the education system that are highly efficient and effective in terms of the promoting learning. So learning the school education by putting a lot of investment. For example, the Singapore, Poland, Korea, we put a lot of investment in the education system that will lead to better learning. But Vietnam, they don't have money. Even with that, they can really have this very good education and learning outcome. Why it happens? Putting more resources, and then that not necessarily lead to learning. The system method here. Now I get back now about this the story we have. When we look at it, the way we operate. In fact, I did some research on the anthropology one. during the hunter-gathering period, we work, I think in general, 15 hours a week. The anthropologists, they start. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. 1 month they work, and for a few months they don't never work, and then they get all those. After that they come. But what happened? If you look at it here, when we moved to agriculture and industrial revolution, humans start to work more. But if you look at the recent years, right, with the automation and digitalization, we work less. In fact, I am thinking, in the few years later, or maybe 10 years later, we are maybe getting into society. We just only work 15 hours, right? So we don't have to work that much. What is this meaning? We work less, and then the school, it's become less, school system less relevant. The very different society we are looking at. Also, we look at it now, that we live longer. We live, if you look at it, about 17th century, 17th century, we live life expectancy was about only 40 years. Now we become around 83 or 85, right? Most of the country by now above 80. Some countries, we will go more than 100 years we can live, right? So now we have a different also complexity. I'm looking at now the productivity. Now the 90-50, we have to spend the 40 hours. The 40 hours deliver, say, the 100 things. But this time we don't have to walk. We just walk only 15 hours, less than 15 hours. You can deliver produce as much as what 40 hours work in the 90-50. We become very, very productive because thanks to the digitalization, all those technology advance. We become very efficient. And most of the job now can be computerized. Now you look at it, the probability of the computerization. If you look at it, most of the job can be computerized. To our surprise, perhaps even the management, even the most of the, if you look at it, transport and all those can be computerized. Less room now, human as a labor can really be less room for us. And more than that, I think we change also. I think the desire needs change. Before we were very much in the deficiency in need, but we are now a front society. We are more interested in now the growth and the self-realization of myself. We change because before we were very hungry, but now if you're all young kids, in fact they no longer hungry. Even you go to a very poor country, they don't walk in the agriculture field. They just get out from there. They look for opportunity. I just give the example of the Bhutan or Nepal, the poorest country in the world, but they don't want to stay in their own country because of this. Not just simply, they look for opportunity, better opportunity for their own self-realization. So, just summarizing this, we are in a very, very different development context. The labor no longer so much relevant, right? We just work for 15 hours. School education system, cannot, become more challenging. A lot of challenges there. And then many of the jobs what we work is computerized, right? And then we were entering the society highly efficient, in terms of the productivity. What was the role of what to do with that? This is my question that I'm putting here. In this context, I argue that we have to reimagine education. We have disruptive technology there, and then we have now more learning channel, not just in the school. We have it a book. We have it also, many different ways to learn, and also whatever the period for the learning, what you learn, won't stay that long. So whatever you learn will become very obsolete very soon. And then what remain we have to do it will be all this work done by also computer, right? What remain works to do, human to do will be what computer cannot do. The quite complex work we have to do. And another problem we're facing is that the world changes so rapidly. It's very, very difficult to predict it. We are living in an uncertain world. So therefore, we have to do different way. Now I'm talking what we need to learn, what we need to educate. First, I said, most important is that we need to focus on what computer cannot do, don't do. Very simple. Computer will do all the plus minus all those can be better. In the education system, rather than teaching them about history of all those, we need to focus on 3 areas. More focus on what computer can do, that creative social intelligence. And also, this is not really good one, but perception. Computer cannot manipulate perception, perceives. That is emotional. And then this one from UNESCO, we go this framework. The system, the education learning system will focus on balance of this, the foundation literacy, and also the competency so that the student can solve the complex challenges, and the more focus on critical thinking, and also creativity and communication, and work together with others. Because not alone, myself, cannot solve the problem. What other problem or computer will do. What we need is that we need to solve the only societal very complex problem. That alone can do. We have to work with others. And then another very important the quality will be curiosity. Meaning we have to encourage the student to be curious and then also solve the problem. But not only curious, children, but they have to be, look at number 13, persistent. And not only that, they should be adaptable, rather than this. So we also going to the global world. It's very important to understand the difference of the social and culture. Another one I mentioned a while ago about Maslow table, value chain. Now self become very important. So therefore, the emotion, this lifestyle, self-actualization become very important. Perhaps we have to now redesign our learning and education system so that help the learner become an individual learner. Because massive education, the standardization won't work. You have to individualize that learning and also the way we operate this system. In fact, we talk about generation now through the pandemic. Many people start to work. There's a different way to do it. Here before we thought about fixed. Usually we go to fixed organization, institution, for example. We go school learn, we go institution learn. But now remote education is possible, right? Before, work and life is very clear. You work in an office and go back home, you do whatever you want. But now the work, the balance, the boundary between work versus life, that becomes quite broad. Now because of during the pandemic, you work from home, right? So the work from home meaning you have to do when I work at home, my wife asks me a lot of errands. So I have to do errands, then I have to work. So that can grow. So we need to come up with new way towards work. And also professional and personal, that this one before was clear, but now we can grow also. Another very important thing I want to say that, our school education, when I look at institutional system we have in that, is very much, how many years we going through school? About 20 years we going through school, right? From the grade 1 to 12 years, and then after that we go to university. Yeah. But perhaps we have to change the way we really educate, not focus too much on the school education. Perhaps if you look at it, when we go to the error that we work on in less than 15 hours a week, then what is more important is that prepare for the non-labor time. The non-labor, why? Because we usually in the economics, labor versus leisure. Well, it's not leisure. Now what happens? When you are at work, you don't work. You have to prepare because you got to be really creative now to be productive in the system to survive there. So during the 24 hours, or 20 hours, usually we work 3-4 hours. We work. Then the rest of the time when in the home, you have to prepare. Therefore, we need to come up with a new concept, prepare the life of non-labor. But we economists, we are very much focused on labor issue. The title was labor economics. I think soon we'll have an emergence of the so-called economics of non-labor that become more important, or economics of leisure. So this one I got it from the Korean data. Say we work 3 hours a day, then 21 hours is non-labor time, leisure time. We sleep maybe 8 hours. Actual working time is just when working time when a lifelong span will be about what? Only 18 years, right? But in the case of Korea, I found the desired work retirement age is 73, no longer 60 something. But first job usually get into 31 because in Korea we have military services, all kind of thing. So get late. So if you look at desired work years, about 42 years. But if you look at it lifetime here, we spend most 25% of our time in school. And then workplaces in Korean context, 22%. After retirement, we have 53 for school and work. So when we look at this structure, a lot of the time we go happening outside the work and outside the school, So we need to read things about the learning and education system. Now, what we need to focus is the learnability. In new world, the learning ability, learn to learn, that becomes very important. This is the one question I had. During the school year, in my classroom, my friends, he started like 24/7. Every day he started, but his performance wasn't that good. I'm very curious why these guys, the performance not good, even if he started that way. Because he doesn't have that ability to learn, ability to focus on what he doesn't know. Usually students, they don't know what they know, what they don't. And then after they focus on what they know. When you ask them what you study, some of the students who don't perform while they're studying hard, they focus on what they know because they're feeling good effect, rather than they focus on what they don't know. Learnability meaning not only the learn to learn, but also the ability to solve the problem. So here, this is many of you know Google, the mysterious billboard. In the Google, there's 90. In the Google in the San Francisco, there's one Howard like this, and then Google advertised this one, that one. Say first 10 digit pound in the consecutive digit of the Euler. This is basically Euler theory and .com and solve this problem. And some people, while they drive, they solve this problem. This one, and they become very curious. That's curiosity. This mysterious building, like curious. And somebody went home, and then that time they went to the computer, put this .com and this, and then what they found is a problem. They will show the one problem they can solve. Actually, they have to that time program something after that. But some people program. Look at it. This now looking at this become asking question is curiosity. But some people go and they solve the problem, meaning persistent and solve the problem, right? The Google in fact recruit them. That's why I'm saying learnability meaning not only have a curious and question, ability to dive into that question and come up with a solution. That's what we needed now, as students. I just will skip this one. Now, I thought, what do we need to focus on a while ago? I said that we need to perhaps focus on learnability now. And you see, now before we very much focus on school learning, institutional learning, but I'm talking workplace learning, in post-retirement learning, right? Life cycle learning I talk about, right? And we also said that instead of just memorizing something, we need now focus on what computer cannot do, because computer will do for us. This is what we're supposed to now focus on. Now, the next question I have is that how we can really do this. So I thought, as I come here, there's this very old building, the Bologna. I thought that the Socrates has the old solution in a way. I think about Socrates, what he did. I think he took his student and go market and teach. So learning beyond the class, that. And then when he really did it, he always give the example and learning kind of a context. It's not just abstract. And also, the school is a part of community, because we go out and this. But he always asks a question. So inquiry-based learning. He always asks questions interactive. And then also the student asking questions, it become more personalized one. And then he very much focused on, he just didn't just teach and teach. So he asked a question to the student, and that has become more student-centered education system. And then, so the question is, if we can emulate what Socrates did, that I think that would be great. I'm not talking only school setting. I'm talking beyond school, informal education. The problem is, how can we emulate Socrates, right? This kind of individual learning is very difficult, right? That time we have Socrates, right? And then also you have a very smart student. But now that's why during the Industrial Revolution, after that, we come up with the massive education, right? Mass education is standardized because it's almost impossible to do this kind of expensive luxury type of the education. But now with the digitalization, all those, this is possible, right? We have a book, right? So now I'm saying at the beginning, massive education, but individual education is possible. We can go back, emulate the Socrates one with help with technology. And another area, I think you also asked the question, how we do it. It's now it's very different. What we did is that we need to focus on, I call the 3C, convergence and collaboration and cooperation. Why I'm talking, I just give you the example of the One Health. Yeah. One Health, the COVID-19, right? This all came from the animal, right? All diseases came from there. But the problem here, here, animal people, health people, human people, and other people, we have to work together. COVID-19, to address the COVID-19 problem, we need to have even the administrator, right, governance, right policy, you need a health person, all kinds of people you have to work together. That really telling us, we need to focus work on human health, animal health, and environmental health. We need also public health expert. We need also, of course, veterinarian, the medical doctor, but we need also legal lawyer. We need also communication expert, right? All kinds of people we need. In new world, the COVID-19, like in this kind of challenge, without having the collaborative work together, was almost impossible to the address the problem. Now we have this kind of problem. The climate change is one. One person alone can new world we need. But now questions I'm asking you, does our education system, ready for this? Most of the education system now the segment, fragmented, right? The legal faculty here, we have the health people here, and then animal science people here. They don't usually work together. The question is how we can really restructure, do this. Another one is that this is I get it from the photo from India. Another one, this one from the Korea, is that during the pandemic period, or happened, the gap between the have now, has increased significantly. I would call that this one basically collapse of the middle. The middle, before was we have a normal distribution like this, but middle is gone. Like we have bimodal type of model, we have it. It happened in the many places, not only education, achievement. Many other look at the phenomena, look at it. I can see that collapse of middle in the many areas. And we need perhaps to create now the learning system. We can prepare for this kind of problem. When pandemic come again, the learning disruption shouldn't happen again. We have to redesign the system so that we can prepare the business continuity for not only health system, education system, right? Not only formal education system and workplace, and also in the adult learning sector. I'm coming back here again. The one very important argument I have it, citing I don't know how to pronounce this one. It must be Italian or French. Fore report, 1972, 50 years old. That report is very important report. Very, very, I think, insightful. Say, already 50 years back, they say, educating human for this kind of very, very fast changing world with only institutional education system, meaning school system, it's impossible. And then another important thing, we are expanding school education system, not enough to prepare the future. And then the report recommended every individual must in a position to keep learning throughout its life. Now these days you cannot say his and her life. But what I'm trying to say that now we have to look at the education system beyond the formal system. That can be formal, the workplace. Another one is before school, after school, or after the work. So, in fact, at the book, I worked on this book, The Power in Learning Society During the Age of Disruption. I bring back that old one, but interpret this one new context. What I try to argue is simple. We live now, the school education, we do like about 12 to 18 years in school, sometimes almost 20 years. Then, in the Pennsylvania, I give the one example of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, there's one poor district, right? School, their educational attainment, learning ability, learning attainment is quite low. What they did is that the supermarket and kids go there together, they put it one signboard and say, showing the cow and milk, and then ask where this milk come from. Then kids and the parents, they go together, looking at this question, and mom can ask the kid, same question. The kid can say, or they will ask questions, where this milk come from? And then they'll say it come from cow. That's the one example, even the supermarket can be one of the learning places. Also, there are many examples. Community can be learned first. For example, some university, they introduce the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal, as they're one of the learning goal. And then with the school, the university community, including faculty and student, and also staff and the local community, they get together, solve the problem, for SDG problem together. Sometimes they do start with community, but sometimes they go beyond the community. They come to all the way, sometimes other country, and then solve the problem. That is the one I'm talking as a learning society. This one is perhaps only way. I'm going back now. The questions I had it back to the first question I had it by the chief of the Papua New Guinea, why you have so many cargo. In summing up, country has an ability to learn, appreciate learning in every corner of a society, every corner of the policy, everywhere, there, have that value. Those countries, in my view, seem to survive and they grow, they develop. This is example I going back. Comparing the Philippines and Taiwan. Now, around the 1960 and 70, the Motorola, they have it semiconductor. They had it. And then they start to outsource the semiconductor, the manufacturing line to the Asian country. That few countries they picked up, that was the Taiwan, Malaysia, and the Philippines, all those. Now, as you know, Taiwan is number one in the world in terms of the semiconductor. How it can? Philippines, when they can, they start with only the packaging, putting together on those. But in the Philippines, they have still, in that stage, they still do packaging now, until now. But in the case of Taiwan, what they've done, next to the semiconductor one, they built one research institute. And they groom the scientists and the engineers. Next there. And then what they did, those people, they work with the production minded. Then Motorola saw something happening. So Motorola started to ask a little bit more sophisticated assignment. And then that's why the Taiwan became big. What is this meaning? Taiwan has that learning and absorptive capacity, adaptability, they learn. After that, the famous Morris Chang came up with a new business line, right? Concept. But what I try to go back here, we talk about now the economic growth and social development we're talking. Usually we talk in the terms of the capital investment, labor input, all those. But I will say, what's really most important will be learning. We know the example from this Taiwan. We also know the recent example from China. In every corner in China, they have a building. They put learning is very important. For example, even trade policy, they put it. To give the example of the bullet train. When bullet train, the old technology comes from Japan, I think the France and other, right? Initially they invite and they are the one who build and do it. But what they did, they built one course. So those countries who invested to come to the China, they asked them to train the Chinese people, the technology, Chinese engineers. That learning happened. But not only that, not just the passive training. They are the one. Next day they could build their own bullet train. So to bring back I firmly personally believe any country, any society has this learning ability, promote the learning ability. They are the one who can adopt it that can also face and overcome whatever challenge we face. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sungsup, for your presentation. Now the time is for questions. Do we have questions? Marina, please.
On question just arrived listening at your last words. There are there universal recipes implementing education policy in China? Is it the same as doing it in Italy, for example? Because I think culture also matters. So the cultural attitude of people does it matter or not?
Actually, this is a very good question. I also thought through, usually as economists, what we don't know was before culture. It's a different culture. We say, for example, East Asian countries doing very well because they have Confucian culture. And after that, we go to governance, right? Some countries very good in governance of laws. But I start to think culture and governance, sorry to say, to me, bit ambiguous. It's not clear. Because ambiguous means not clear. The meaning is not clear to me. This was my soul search as a development worker working in the development sector for like 30 years. I don't want to say because of cultural differences happen. Because I see when you go even PNG, right? You say culture, you don't have a learning culture. It's not really true. Even though when you go any places, people have that culture. Very difficult to say that simply because cultural difference. To me, it's a bit, it was difficult. So I've been thinking about this one as a development work. I thought the most important is that learning. You go Vietnam, they're very much focused on learning. Same as also China. Not just learning, not just learn to learn. Learn and adopt it and also solve the problem. That I think the tradition they have it. That I try to argue. So we have now 3-1. We call usually as culture. Another one is a governance problem. But I argue is that any society and system you have an efficient and effective learning system. That society will thrive. And not necessarily with a high cost. Even if some countries put a lot of money for education system, the learning outcome, not necessarily that good. I already showed you where to go. But some system, like Vietnam, with very small, very low, low invest, their performance is really outstanding. That's why perhaps Vietnam doing very well.
Yes. My question is somewhat related to the cultural and technical aspects of your presentation. We of course, nowadays in medicine in particular, we have learned a lot regarding the communication of our doing of our skills in medicine. I work in medicine. I used to work at least. And the best example is, of course, comes out of the pandemics, which has taught us a lot in terms of communication with the community, the general population. If you don't do that, you end up in a very difficult situation. But let me anticipate. Let's go back a little bit more. For example, in terms of technical skills and progress in the field of medicine is the rise of genetic knowledge. Genetic has become so important nowadays, especially for therapy. Gene therapy, for example, is the best example. But 15, 20 years ago, it was not so clear that genetics could be the moving tool in medical school. But there is an example which was due to a wise faculty in a North American university, which is Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins started in 2010 a program which essentially was a revolution in terms of presenting the skills or training the students in what they had to learn to become good doctors. And that was essentially a label which is still now there, which was very successful in practice, which is called Genetics and Society. Believe it or not, the teaching program at Johns Hopkins in the medical school is called Genetics and Society. Genetics has become more than 50% of what you have to learn in medicine nowadays is in the field of genetics, medical genetics in particular. So I think this stresses the point of the predominance, if you want, of the what comes first. Comes first the knowledge, comes first the culture, which opens up a new road, and this new road has to lead to a communication with the population. And nowadays, this is the essence of medicine, because it is prevention. Prevention is becoming the way to do good, effective medical practice in all societies.
Maybe I think this is a question and comment. I think I worked during the pandemic period as I was task manager, dealing with the pandemic emergency operation in ADD for 2 years. It was that time I worked from home, and it was really revealing experience. In my house, I work from home 2 years because I cannot go out, right? And then restroom is just 1 meter, 2 meter distance. But I couldn't go to restroom because I don't have time. It was so busy on the pandemic issue. That time, the major problem was communication, by the way. I have to communicate with my boss and management, but more importantly, government. What happened? You go government, like I say, for example of the Indian government. India population is 1.5 billion. But only few people work on this pandemic operation. Only few people. They are the one who really architect of this. And then someone work, perhaps I should be in the contracted the COVID the one 3 times. So it was very difficult. That time, major problem we faced was that the vaccine hesitancy. There are a lot of the rumor about vaccine, right? Vaccine is not good or low. So we have to deal with the vaccine hesitancy. That one. But a lot of the information is distorted and those. But somehow those developing countries, they handle this one very well. Now, coming back to the genetic and this one, I think about 3 things from the knowledge perspective. Usually the country where that the catching up, right? is, for example, for developing country context, they don't have to work on the rocket science, new technology. For them, most important is that imitate and adopt, right? Whatever new technology and innovation. However, if you become already advanced country, now the question, as you said, we have to look at different way. We have to look at it societal problem, big question. And then there usually new idea, new way of doing come from the cross-learning, as you said, genetic and medical, right? Now we are computing with biology, right? The computing biology becomes now a new trend in Silicon Valley. That coming there. So therefore, these days, to be top, to become a really the leading country, learning becoming very important, but learning not necessarily coming from the same field. You have to cross-learn, communicate rather, collaborate rather, but at the same time, focus on global issue, big issue. Then you will be, that can be the leading country perhaps. But you know, even if the middle-income country, there are some countries doing very well in that direction. You know, I don't know this one. It's okay to you, whatever I offer to you. But I give you another example. In the higher education space, higher education space, I'm thinking there are two new innovative approach coming. This very important one I come. Number one is that the Stanford Sustainability Study, Sustainability School, called Door School of the Sustainability. Another one is that the MIT, they came up with the School of Computing. These two, I think somewhat similar, something happening. In this School of the Computing, Schwartz School of the MIT Schwartz School of the Computing, recent years, it just established recently, very recently, with a big donation from the private sector donor, 1.1 billion they get it. In the case of the Stanford one, they get 1.5 billion donation they got. They started with it. These are two new schools, like I would say, you know, highly trend-setting now, or direction of the higher education. In the case of MIT one, recently they have recruited 3 or 4 new assistant professor. Who are they? They are the one who work in climate change. Climate change. It's a computing school. They recruited it, the climate change expert. One working on the big data, you know, those kinds of people, you know, it's completely different world. In the Stanford Sustainability School, what they do, they look at it from sustainability perspective, looking at every aspect. They are now the hiring engineers and environmentalists and all those, they work together. It's all they talk about, the intersectoral, cross learning we are talking.
Thank you. Maybe there are questions also from people that are following a distanza. Non so se c'è qualcuno di quelli che seguono a distanza che ha domande. Riccardo, are you? No. Riccardo, are you willing to raise the question?
Well, many, but coming from, I have changed my mind. I changed my mind when I was listening to the last. Because when you're talking about the idea of the importance of learning and knowledge, it is important because it, well, from a theoretical point of view, because it creates structural change. Because what they did at Johns Hopkins, it was a structural change in the sense they were able to manage different kind of knowledge together to build something different and to make, to open up a new field of research, for instance. Which is probably one of the engine that was behind the important growth that you were mentioning before of South Korea, Taiwan, Japan also. They were, technological leaders. They were just trying to put up innovations and science and innovation in order to be to make structural change. As I see it now, now we are in your taxonomy. Now we are in an artificial intelligence era. We are not any longer gathering or agriculture or one. No, we are, and here the role of state, because the role of state is fundamental in this regard. The role of state, to cite Polanyi, to make market work. To make markets to work, you need a very strong and centralized institutional setup. Otherwise, markets don't work. They become sort of, Far West, where the biggest. But now with artificial intelligence, we are back again because everything is private. So we do not have any longer the institutions to drive this process of growth into certain direction. And what we have seen, as far as I can tell, is sort of, to use the Marxian original accumulation made by the first ones to use this kind of, to make this artificial intelligence, to make this digital innovation. So I think now we are in a completely different era, but and it's more difficult to drive this in a sort of proper way to build this kind of, for instance, good examples that you were talking about. What do you think?
It happened also at corporate level, right? It happened. That's one. Also, I already see that some university already doing that, somewhere. But university is not easy, right? Because university was very important is that each faculty, their independence become very important.
Yeah. Now you have very huge, very big firms doing that privately on their own. I mean, lots of artificial intelligence being developed outside of universities, outside of public or private center where you develop knowledge. They are completely.
Yeah. In the case of ADB, we are doing that. And also I know other institutions also are doing. But university, I recently met some university I visited because of this issue, because we want to have a partnership with the university, because now we needed new idea, right? We need now knowledge partners to work, right? Not only money, right? We need everything. So I go and meet the people. And then I know some universities moving that direction. However, still long way to go. Because university by nature, not easy to really move that one. But this is time, that's why we have to rethink about university or education system to restructure that way so that they work a collaborative one or across the discipline, and go beyond the formal system, fix the system. They have to work with the community, solve the problem. University education for education won't work. Education for example, pandemic, education for energy, education for food crisis. We have to rethink about that. Then university remain relevant, right? Contribute. But whichever university go ahead first, they will be the one remain relevant, right? They can deliver meaningful impacts on the society. So it's very challenging. But some universities are already doing that direction, but not necessarily. So I see that in the new eras now, the learning, there are so many ways to learn. Most of the fixed-based university with building all those, many of them, I think they will face serious challenges over the time. I don't know how many of them will survive, right? Because now you were asking questions about role of university, role of institution, education system, right? So And then people will start to understand the value for, like, for example, workplace learning and adult learning or those. So I think whichever country who moving ahead first, they will be the one who will remain, will survive. I think for country who are doing very well, I don't, maybe I cannot mention that, but maybe Singapore doing very well. Singapore has a skills future. You know, they are doing, they have an excellent strategy and doing really well. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question?
Yeah,
Please.
it would be a provocative question. You make in opposition massive education and creativity. Okay. Is it possible in your vision to have massive creativity? Because we have to tackle this point. Because in an environment of massive education, you have anyway selection based on the creativity of people. You have universities which are differentiated between basing on the ability to produce creative people. That's already in place. Okay. So my question is, in your vision, are you thinking of a new world in which you may have massive creativity? The cost would be different from the previous model.
Looking at the history of so-called learning system for education, is, you know, start from pre-history, you know, hunter-gathering society all the way now. You know, the long time back before agriculture system, the period, it was basically, you know, informal education system. I think the best education system is a product of the industrialization, because that time we needed, it's a common sector, right? In the UK, you know, they have shortage of labor with, you know, they need the massive labor. Who can read it, who can write? Simple, the elementary learning. And that's why this is a massive education system. And then after that, we came up with even higher education system, even we can. I think we have opportunity to go back. We need still massive education. Mass education. Why? Because so many people there, right? Still there are a lot of requirement for mass education. We cannot go elite education as before, long time back. But question is, how can we provide student-centered, individualized education, right? Some students, they have a different way to learn, different also pace to learn, right? You know, the different style of learning style. But it become possible because of all the new, the digital technology or laws. It happened now. These days we are using a lot of digital tool in a school setting, and then you can offer individual interactive learning with help. There's many examples. For example, now in the school these days they're using this. You know, you can even get their whole score interactively using the computer. You know, we have done some also the pilot. Even many countries start to use that. You see, I look at it a different way. Some students, they lag behind. Not because they are intellectually not good, because many times they have different way to learn, different learning style. It's extremely important, therefore, we come up with more individualized learning. But unlike several thousand ago, we need a mass education still, because we have a big number of population to address. Yeah.
Thank you. Ora siamo arrivati alla conclusione, ma vorrei concludere con un auspicio. che riguarda la possibilità di proseguire questa discussione. E lo dico in inglese così it's more clear. It's also to Sungsup. My understanding of your presentation as an economist emphasized the fact that till now, the schooling system and also the higher education system has been almost completely, at least in general, an appendix of the supply side of the labor market, families and workers. And this attitude has been emphasized even more by the notion of employability, around which works a lot of the European Commission policies. As far as I understand, your suggestion or your will is to give more role to the demand side of the labor market, to the firms. They should take more active position in order to face this new transition. But the issue is, who will be the driver of this empowerment of learning society? And this is an important theme, I think, to start to think about and maybe to come back with another seminar in the next future. Thank you so much.